question is, are there demons? And the Bible is just very clear about the existence of the presence of a spiritual world. Paul speaks so clearly about Christ's role in creation and creating both visible and invisible. And in that context, in Colossians chapter 1, he talks about, uses language of rulers and authorities and powers. And I think pretty clearly what the reference to there is these beings, these real, spiritual, personal beings. What they are really is they're angels. God created through the agency of Christ all things visible and invisible, and you have this realm, this race, if you will, of beings, not human race, but an angelic race. And the book of Jude tells us that some of those did not keep their proper place. And so led by one of their members, Satan, a strong angel, rebelled against God and led with him a host of angels against God, in opposition to God. And so we have these real spiritual beings that we refer to as demons, and we see their activity in opposition to God. That's basically how they're described, how they're presented in Scripture as being opposed to the work of God. So it's no surprise that in the gospel we see this eruption of demonic activity when Christ comes. Christ himself said, I came to destroy the works of the devil. And so no surprise that in the Gospels we read about a heightened demonic activity. And so when Paul does now, reflecting back, talk about both what he observed and has been taught and reads about in the Old Testament Scriptures, he, for example, in places like Ephesians chapter 6, he speaks about these rulers and authorities and is referring to these real, spiritual, personal beings. In that same context of Ephesians 6, where he's talking about the armor of God, he even describes as part of our armor the shield of faith that we should take up to help extinguish the fiery darts of the evil one. And so even though that's a specific reference to Satan, it speaks about the personality, the real personality of these beings. So yeah, the Bible clearly speaks about a spiritual realm that is populated by real spiritual beings in opposition to God. The wonderful thing for Christians is that Christ, here's what Paul says in Colossians chapter 2, they were disarmed in the work of Christ on the cross. And so for a believer, not only is there no need to ultimately fear them, but there is great rest and great confidence that Christ has defeated them. And so as we follow in obedience to Christ, there's no need to, there's a need to be sober about their influence. They are in opposition, there's no question, but there's no need to fear. Greater is he who is in you than he who's in the world and all his hosts.